Hello everyone, welcome to Motion 24. For more than 2 decades, Roloff Farms has stood as a shining symbol of rustic success, a sprawling empire built on pumpkins, primetime television, and the relentless ambition of one man. Through the lens of TLC, Matt Roloff has been portrayed as a visionary entrepreneur, a master builder with a Midas touch, someone who could transform bare land into a thriving legacy. Every custom project, every bold renovation, every ambitious dream only reinforced the image of unstoppable success. But what if that image isn't the full story? What if, behind the carefully framed shots and inspiring narratives, there's a very different reality? One built not on wealth, but on mounting pressure and hidden financial strain. What if the empire we've admired for years is quietly battling cracks beneath the surface? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a chilling theory, one that insiders and financial speculation have begun to whisper about. The idea that Matt Roloff may not be downsizing by choice, but by necessity. That the unfinished dream home isn't a symbol of ambition, but a warning sign of something far more serious. That the difficult decisions involving his family weren't just emotional, they may have been driven by survival. This is the story that challenges everything you thought you knew. Before we uncover the hidden layers, the unanswered questions, and the reality TLC may never show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you see little people, big world, forever. We need to go past the expertly produced episodes and see the cold, hard math of the divorce to grasp how big this collapse is. When Matt and Amy Roloff broke up, it wasn't just a breakup of the heart, it was the start of a financial disaster that has never stopped. For years, people thought the buyout was a simple deal, but fresh ideas say it was a deadly blow to Matt's cash flow. People have been saying behind Matt's back for a long time that he didn't merely have millions of dollars in a bank account ready to give to Amy. Matt had to use the farm to its fullest extent to make that huge buyout happen. It is thought that her share of the south side alone will cost about $1 million, plus the prior buyouts. We are talking about using assets in a way that financial experts would say is dangerous. The idea is that Matt took out huge loans against the equity of the land to pay Amy off, which turned the farm from a money-making powerhouse into a debt-servicing nightmare. The bank owned the farm now, not him. And this is where the mask of the wealthy business owner starts to fall off. If you have this much debt, you are technically house poor. You could have millions of dollars worth of land, but you can't buy groceries, pay for building supplies, or deal with crises because you don't have any cash. You live in a mansion, but you have a lot of debt. This context changes the frenzied, almost crazy attempts to sell the north side of the land altogether. Do you remember when he placed the enormous house up for sale? The story on the show said that he wanted to move to a smaller place, or that he was just ready for a change. He that the $4 million asking price wasn't simply greed, it was also a need. The idea says that Matt couldn't sell the property to Zach or Jeremy at a family discount price because the bank wouldn't permit him. He still owes the bank $1 million, which he doesn't have, even if he sold the property to his son for $2 million. This is the real reason why the talks with the twin brothers went so badly. Matt didn't want his sons to carry on his heritage. He used their inheritance to pay for his divorce. He was in a tough spot where he had to get a lot of money from a stranger just to pay off the liens on the property. People started to panic when the property didn't sell, even if the show tried to cut it out. He switched to short-term rentals in a last-ditch effort to make enough money each month to pay off the huge amount of interest on his debt that was growing every day. This isn't how a multimillionaire with a wide range of investments would act. This is how a man acts when he shuffles credit cards to pay his bills. The house poverty delusion is the only idea that makes sense of the mess. He isn't holding on to the land because he loves it. He's clinging on to it because he can't afford to sell it at a loss or keep it, which is putting him in a financial purgatory that is slowly killing him. When you think about the bigger economic issues that happened at the same time as Matt's risky decisions, things get even worse. Interest rates went through the roof, building expenses went through the roof, and inflation affected every part of the economy. This was the perfect storm for a man with a lot of variable rate debt, which is common in big loans for commercial and agricultural property. Every time the Federal Reserve raised interest rates by a percentage point, it wasn't just a news story. It was a direct knock to Matt Roloff's pocketbook, draining what little cash he had left. We have heard that Matt was looking for bridge loans, which are high-interest, short-term loans that are meant to keep a sinking ship afloat until a significant asset is sold. This happened during the height of the listing drama. This fits well with the strange things we witnessed on TV. The mood swings, the unexpected strain on Caryn to get things done, and the strange arguments with the kids about small things. Matt wasn't just cranky, he was stressed up because he knew that missing one payment may lead to a foreclosure that would make him seem bad on a national platform. Think about how hard it would be to keep up the image of the king of the farm while secretly trying to get money. This paradox is why he has been so pushy about making money lately. The rates for pumpkins, the costs for VIP tours, and the constant push for products are no longer merely smart business decisions. They are the desperate clawing of a man who needs every last penny to keep the bank from taking his money. The farm is no longer a fun endeavor, it's a ravenous beast that needs to be fed. And Matt is running out of food. Also, let's have a peek at the house he's building right now. It seems like a flex to the average person who sees a big bespoke home. It looks like money, but in the building business, launching a project of that size while in a lot of debt is called gambling on appreciation. The idea is that Matt is hoping that the finished new house will be worth enough to pay off all of his debts. He is essentially doubling down, putting all of his chips on a new building in the hopes that it will pay off the obligations from the old one. There is no safety net, so it's a high-wire act. If this theory is correct, it also changes how he feels about Caryn Chandler. A lot of people have called Caryn a gold digger, but if Matt is really broke and in debt, the situation changes drastically. Maybe she's not after his money since there isn't any money to chase. She could be the one in charge of the situation, guarding the secrets, and trying to save Matt from going completely broke. It explains why she doesn't want to move into the upheaval, why she wants her own home in Arizona, and why she doesn't want to get involved in the farm's complex finances. She looks at the books. She knows what's true. The house bad illusion makes us look at the last 3 seasons again with new eyes. Matt wasn't talking about work ethic when he said the students didn't understand business. He was talking about solvency. He couldn't tell Zach that the family price was mathematically unattainable, since that would mean admitting that he, the great Matt Roloff, had run the empire into the ground. He couldn't say, "I'm broke," because it would hurt his dignity. Instead, he said, "You're not ready," which ruined his connection with his boys so he could hide his debt. As we get farther into our research, we need to look at the exact data for the new build. This wasn't just a house. It was a custom-made, accessible mansion that was meant to be Matt's last stronghold. But those in Oregon's construction business say that the project has been beset by stop work orders and late payments to contractors. When a job site is quiet, it usually signifies that the money has run out. The skeleton of that house sat there for weeks without being worked on. Not because of planning, but because they didn't have the money to pour the concrete. This is how the end will come about. We had a guy who bought out his ex-wife with money he didn't have, pushed away the only people who could have helped him, and then decided to build a castle on top of a sinkhole. Matt Roloff has spent his whole life controlling the story and changing it to make himself the hero. But you can't change a balance sheet with producer meetings or confessionals. That's the one thing you can't change. And right now, the balance sheet is shouting a warning that we are only starting to hear. The stage is ready, the debts are piling up, the family is falling apart, and the walls are closing in. You are mistaken if you think that the divorce and unsuccessful sale debt is all there is to the narrative. That was only the beginning. What we're about to find out about the particular building costs of the new mansion and a number of failed hidden investments will show you that Matt isn't simply treading water. He's already in over his head. When we look at the huge, incomplete building that is now casting a long shadow over the property, the story of the rich, smart architect of Roloff Farms starts to fall apart totally. This is the twist that changes a story about a man moving to a smaller house into a story about a man drowning. We need to talk about the mansion error, the dream house project that has gotten so out of hand that financial experts say it is the main reason Matt Roloff is secretly broke. Matt called the new build his last great work of art on the show. He wanted it to be a custom-built, completely accessible log cabin hybrid, a sign of his legacy and a cozy home for him and Caryn. But let's take a look at how things really are in the construction industry after the pandemic. Matt started building his own home at the worst conceivable period in modern history. We're talking about a time when the price of lumber went up 3 times. The prices of steel, concrete, and skilled workers went through the roof overnight. By 2022, a project that might have cost $1.5 million in 2019 had turned into a $4 million or $5 million albatross around his neck. Some people think that Matt, in his typical hopeful arrogance, wouldn't change his plans. He didn't cut back when costs went through the roof. Instead, he kept going. Sure, he could outsmart the market. But the market doesn't care about being famous on reality TV. We've seen the videos showing the house sitting empty for months at a time. The show tried to make it seem like problems with the supply chain or scheduling disputes with contractors, but everyone who works in construction knows the code. When a project site becomes quiet for weeks and the crew and equipment are taken away, it usually signifies one thing: the checks ceased clearing. The house poor illusion makes it look like Matt ran out of cash in the middle of the build. He had spent millions on the foundation and framing, using up all of his savings, only to find that the cost of finishing the inside had risen. This made a terrible sunk cost trap. He couldn't stop building because a house that isn't finished is worthless and makes the whole farm's property value go down. But he couldn't keep building because his bank accounts were almost empty. He was financially paralyzed and had to rush to find money to buy the next delivery of drywall. This is why we've seen progress that is inconsistent and patchy. It explains why he works in weird bursts. He makes money by working for it. When the TLC season check clears, a window is put in. The roof gets done when the pumpkin season sales start. He isn't building with a lot of money. He's building with pocket change because he made a huge mistake with the budget and needs to hide it. The dream mansion has turned into a vampire that is draining the farm's money. The mansion is only one part of the twist, though. Matt might have been able to get through the storm if the house was the only thing wrong. The darker, more clandestine portion of this notion is what Matt did with his money when the cameras weren't rolling. Matt has been saying for years that he is a great investor with a wide range of investments, but facts and in-depth conjecture about his business transactions point to a string of disastrous investment failures that have been deliberately left out of the show's story. We need to keep in mind that Matt is a risk taker. He built the farm that way, but people who take risks don't always know when to stop. People who keep an eye on the industry think that Matt, worried that Little People, Big World would be canceled, tried to quickly diversify his income streams into risky, high-reward businesses that failed. There are rumors of bad IT investments, failed attempts to start automation companies, and maybe even big losses in the speculative cryptocurrency markets that hurt a lot of investors in the last 2 years. We can't examine his tax records, but his actions are like those of a gambler trying to make up for losses. When you have a house that costs millions of dollars more than it should, and a portfolio that has lost a lot of value, you have a huge liquidity dilemma. This is where the mask really falls off. Matt Roloff isn't simply broke because he has a lot of land that he can't sell. He doesn't have any cash because he lost the cash he had in risky bets and a construction project that was just for show. From this point of view, the failure of the short-term rental plan for the enormous property seems quite bad. Do you remember the fanfare? Matt said he was going to renovate the family's old home into a high-end rental that would compete with other high-end Airbnbs. He thought he would make a lot of money. He spent a lot of money on fixing it up, staging it, and advertising it. But check the calendars for bookings. People who have been watching the property online have noticed that it has been empty for long periods of time. A rental property that isn't rented out is not an asset. It's a liability. It is a waste. You still have to pay the property taxes, insurance, electricity, landscaping, and cleaning workers, even if no one sleeps there. If the theory is true that Matt is broke, then the rental business's failure is the last straw. He was counting on the rent money to pay off the loan on the new property. When the bookings didn't happen because, let's be honest, the price for a farm in Hillsboro, Oregon was just too high, his financial bridge fell apart. The empire now appears like a house of cards. The pumpkin patch used to be a great way to make money, but today it's probably the only thing keeping the lights on. But that's still a risky bet for the season. One lousy harvest or one rainy October can bring down the whole stack of indebtedness that is already very shaky. This is why we notice how desperate he is in his eyes throughout the harvest scenes. It's not only about tradition anymore, it's about staying alive. He needs those pumpkin dollars to pay the mortgage on the house he can't afford to finish, and the one he can't rent. This money fear also explains the strange, almost cruel way he has started to make money off of his fans. The cameo movies, the continual ads for branded goods, and the high prices for private tours. A rich person would not do these things. This is what a man who needs $500 today to pay his energy bill does. It's a humiliating, frenetic rush that is very different from the comfortable, rich father figure that TLC tries to show. Let's talk more about the psychology of being house poor. People who are this poor get defensive, paranoid, and domineering. Does that ring a bell? Does it sound like the Matt Roloff we've seen lately? The man who yells at his family, alters the rules of the game all the time, and won't let go of control? That's how a man acts when he knows he could lose everything with one wrong move. He can't delegate since he can't let anyone view the books. He can't let Zach or Jeremy take over because they would understand right away that the farm isn't a gold mine. It's a debt pit. The twist is that Matt Roloff is stuck in a prison he made himself. He constructed a life that needs a millionaire's income to keep going, but all of his cash has disappeared. He is in a scary limbo where he has millions of dollars in assets, but can't buy a lunch without checking his balance. The unfinished mansion is a tribute to this arrogance. It is a hollow shell, just like the financial deception he has kept up for so long. Think about the garage sale part we've seen on social media and on the show. Matt is always getting rid of old props, agricultural tools, and other things he doesn't need. He says he's cleaning up, but rich men don't spend their weekends arguing over the price of a used tractor or selling ancient wagon wheels to people they don't know. That's what men do when they need money. This is a sale to get rid of things that looks like spring cleaning. Everything that leaves the farm is a last-ditch effort to get money into a bank account that is too dry. This theory also makes his relationship with the production firm look bad. Is Matt unwilling to leave the show because he enjoys being famous, or because the TLC paycheck is the only steady source of income he has left? If the show is canceled, the bank takes over. That's all there is to it. He is a hostage to the producers. They make him dance for his meals and make drama with his kids, because if the program doesn't go on, the creditors come knocking. The notion of being house poor isn't simply about real estate. It's about how the Roloff story showed how the American ideal was falling apart. We saw them build it, and now we're seeing Matt struggle to keep it